Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and today we're going to look at the Heritage September auction results for vintage Star Wars figures. They had a very nice batch of items, and as you'd expect with Heritage, some of the prices were good. Some of them were way above what I consider to be market value, but for those that you were actually bidding in this auction, I hope that you got a few of the good deals here, because I'm kind of perplexed as to why some of the items that I would argue were really nice and somewhat tough to find did not go for more money. And it just shows you that you never know what you're going to get in these auctions. All the prices I'm going to quote you include the buyer's premium that Heritage charges. It does not include your sales tax or the shipping costs. The shipping costs are very reasonable from Heritage, but unfortunately you do have to pay sales tax, which, at least for me on Hakes, I do not have to do. And so what I found with Heritage is that because I pay a 9.25% sales tax here in Tennessee, that usually stuff on Heritage goes above what I'm willing to pay for it after you factor in the buyer's premium. But like I said, for those of you that have a low sales tax, some of these items were actually pretty good deals. Some of them were not. This one I thought was a good deal. This was an AFA 80 plus early bird certificate package. $65.62 on that seems like a really low number to me. We've seen some in this kind of grade range go into the five figures, and recently. So $65.62, including the buyer's premium on an AFA 80 plus early bird. I mean, I was expecting a lot more. I really was. And again, I don't know these that well. I don't follow the early birds, but from what I gather, this to me seems like a pretty good deal on that. Next up was a 75 plus AFA graded 12-back C Chewbacca, unpunched, no price sticker, clear blister. $13.12 on that. And that's, I guess, kind of in market. Again, I don't know 12 backs that well, but in general, I do feel like 12 backs on Heritage tend to go at market value or even slightly above sometimes well above if it's very high grade. But $13.12 doesn't seem like a great steal or anything like that, but it does seem kind of in line with what we've seen on eBay, if not even a little on the high side. Here was a 20-back A Sand People. I thought this was a really good deal, and it kind of goes back to that strategy that I talk about with Hakes. You could apply the same strategy to Heritage. Punched examples and those with price stickers, those do tend to go what I would argue below fair market value. AFA 85, 20-back Sand People, and I don't see any discoloration on the actual cape, which is a common problem for the early Star Wars card backs for the Sand People. $687.50. That to me seems like a really good deal for an AFA 85. This one also I thought was a great deal. This was a 12-back B Palatoy Sand People, also unpunched. AFA 80 plus on that one for $906. I mean, I'm shocked it went that low. That to me seems like a fantastic bargain. Even for me, if I had to pay the sales tax, you're talking roughly about $1,000. I mean, that's a good deal for an AFA 80 plus unpunched Palatoy. Here was another one that I don't know why I included this one so early in the lineup here, but this was an AFA 85 Return of the Jedi Ewok Village 1937. I mean, we've seen them go for higher and for more money on eBay in lower grade. So 1937 for an AFA 85, mint in sealed box as well. That was not a qualified example. So that one is a surprisingly low number as well. Han Solo Revenge of the Jedi 48-back B. So this has got the sticker on the front. Again, punched with a price sticker. This one kind of goes against what I was just arguing in terms of strategy, because it went for $1,000, which seems like a big number for an AFA 80 punched with a price sticker for $1,000. That number is way too high to me. I was thinking maybe 600 at the top end. So again, all it takes is two to tango, right? We talk about that all the time, is that if you get two big whale bidders that are maybe missing this for their 48B or C run, maybe it went for more because it is the B, maybe a little harder to find than the printed Revenge of the Jedi offer. That could be a factor there. Maybe there's not many of these on the population report with the B card back, so that could be a factor. But $1,000 is way more than I'd be willing to spend. Another one that I was tracking along with Brett on FET was the 48 back seat Boba Fett. It was only an AFA 50. Now, it had some really high subgrades. 80 for the card, figure 80, blister 50. Blister 50. So we're assuming, Brett and I were talking about this offline, we're both assuming that it had a crack in the blister, but it really presents nicely. I mean, this was a very nice presenting item, and Brett was interested in it, and he asked me what I thought a fair number would be. I was thinking $1,500 after the buyer's premium. That maybe with the buyer's premium at most, but this one went for $1,937. It is a harder to find Boba Fett mint on card, but to me, that's a little more than I was comfortable with. And Brett agreed with me on that one, so he stayed away. But it was certainly a beautiful example. Just presents a lot better than the typical 50 grade. Blister was perfectly shaped and everything, but it got the 50, so I'm assuming it had a micro crack probably on the blister stem, but a little bit more than I'd be willing to go for a 50 grade. You compare that to the 41 back A, or excuse me, this is a 21 back, 21 back. I look at that yellow offer sticker and I always assume it's the 41 back. Now, this is the free secret Star Wars action figure offer for Boba Fett. This was a good deal. Okay, this was a good deal at $3,000. This is the transition ESB card back. It was punched, but clear blister and, any Boba Fett in high grade on the ESB card backs are going to be about $3,000. I was expecting something north of that number. So that's a number I'd pay in a heartbeat for an AFA 80 transition card. Hard to find those transition cards, especially in high grade. Here was a Luke Skywalker brown haired, and this was an ESB 41 back E. Seems like the 41 back E's are kind of known for different figures, right? So this one's got the brown hair. We talked about my transition Yoda that was only available on the 41 back E. So 41Es are definitely an interesting line to collect. This one sold for $1,562. It was only an AFA 60, but again, it was a brown hair Luke Farm Boy on an ESB card back. I don't think that's a terrible number. It's more than I'd go, but I can understand paying that number. A little bit easier to swallow that number versus the $1,900 for an AFA 50, but I guess it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, I guess. Here was that beautiful Gunner alternate image card back for Luke on the Return of the Jedi card back. Just light yellowing on this one. This is one that's kind of notorious to get very heavy yellowing on the blister. So it was a yellowed 80 grade, and it sold for $26.25. That's almost right in line with what I would have expected. If you had held my feet to the fire, I would have said $2,600 to $2,800. So that I thought was a very fair deal as well. Not a steal by any means, but hard to get a steal on one. To me, getting it with that kind of yellowing where it's very minimal like that in an AFA 80, very much a fair price, very, very much fair market value. Here was a clear blister 77 back A Hoth Imperial Stormtrooper price sticker, but unpunched. That one sold for $906. Not terribly surprising given some of the prices we've seen on eBay for that. I thought that was a beautiful figure. This was also a hard torso Hong Kong figure. So it's got a couple of little things going for it that I think worked in its favor. If it's yellowed, it's very slight, but that to me still looks fairly clear, if not completely clear, for $906. That's a number I'd pay. Here was that IG88 that I highlighted in the preview. This was a 77 back A yellowed blister, but only faint yellowing on that one for $312.50. I thought that was a very fair deal. For a true clear blister on this one, probably close to double that price would be my guess, $500 to $600. This one did have what looked like maybe some frosting on the head there. Let's take a closer look at it. Yeah, so it's got some frosting on the head and on the arms. So that's why it got the figure score of 75. But $300, probably about fair market value. And you could probably put that underneath a UV light and hopefully get that frosting off of that IG88. It's already yellowed, so you don't have to worry about the blister yellowing on it. This was another one that kind of scratched my head on. This was a yellowed 80 Power of the Force Darth Vader. Punched example as well, and it sold for $1,562 after the buyer's premium. Way too high. I mean, we've seen this one very regularly on eBay or even on Hakes go for kind of $900 to $1,000. So that's a good solid 50 to 60% above fair market value, in my opinion. Again, no clue, but again, it only takes a couple of whales who are just trying to fill in their collection and don't particularly care about overpaying, and this one just happened to have a bidding war on it. On the other end of the spectrum is this yellowed 75 Power of the Force Biker Scout. Only very light yellowing. Look how clear that blister is. Now, it was a 75 in all fairness, but it was an unpunched example, no price sticker for $812. Very much fair market value. I thought that was a really good deal there. I mean, it's not a terrible steal, but to me, that presents a lot nicer than a 75 and a very nice example for $812.50. Here was another one that I questioned. This was a CAS yellowed 85 Luke Battle Poncho. It was unpunched, but it had the big Toys R Us price sticker, so I was thinking $700-800. You know, it was a CAS 85 versus an AFA 85, and it went for $1312.50. I mean, I have no idea what's going on with this one or the Darth Vader. Way too high on those two. Here was an A-Wing pilot, a yellowed 85 plus from CAS, unpunched with again the Toys R Us price sticker for $575. That's a very fair market value in my opinion. The Han Solo was a yellowed 80 from CAS that sold for $687.50. Another number that's probably fair market value, right? An AFA yellowed 80, probably in the ballpark of $900, $800, somewhere in there. So, you know, for a CAS in the same grade, that does tend to go for a little bit less money, and that's pretty much fair market value. This yellowed 85 CAS Barada sold for $400. Again, right in line with market, if not even slightly above what we've seen similar examples sell for on eBay. The EV99 was a yellowed 80 plus from CAS for $337.50. I mean, we've documented in my loose complete videos EV99s going for $300 to $330. What on earth happened on this one? That one was a very good deal for somebody. That was a steal. That was a really good deal there. The Lando sold for $656.25. This was a CAS 80 plus, obviously with the yellow blister. That's maybe a little on the high end, but probably pretty close to fair market value. The Yoda was an AFA 75 plus, and as you'd expect, this one did go over $2,000. I always say if it's like an AFA 75 or above, $2,000 is going to be the starting price for a Yoda on the Power of the Force card back, and this one was no exception. 80s, probably talking $2,500 to $2,600. 85s, $3,000 and above would be my guess, if not way above that. It just depends on the market and who's looking. But here was another one that went for way above market. I was really shocked on this one. Now, in all fairness, this is probably one of the best blisters I've seen for the Luke Stormtrooper on the Power of the Force card. It's as close as you can get to a clear blister without it being a clear blister. It was an AFA 80. And it was labeled clear blister. It was no longer clear blister, though. You can see very clearly on the right-hand side of the blister that it's starting to yellow. That's my take, anyway, okay? It may not be, okay? Maybe it's just shadows. I don't know. But from my perspective, it is starting to yellow just slightly. Now, it is labeled a clear blister, though, so I could be wrong on that. This one did sell for $41.25. Big number on that. If there's ever proof that clear or at least clear-ish blisters on the Power of the Force don't command a premium, that narrative is gone by the wayside, because that one was a massive number. $41.25 AFA 80, and it was a punched example as well. That's a pretty crazy price, but I get it. I mean, if I had, you know, FU money, I would pay that too. Very nice example. Again, this was one I was like, keep an eye on this one. This is one I had on my preview list, and it went for below fair market value, in my opinion. This was an AFA 80 TIG from. We know that those tend to stay mainly clear blister because these were made in Mexico in the Lily Letty factory, and it uses a different type of blister. Unpunched example, no price sticker, AFA 80 for $687. Bargain. That's a bargain. I would have paid $900 to $1,000 on that all day long. Although TIG from has come down. I mean, we've seen some AFA or even ungraded examples on eBay where the prices have come back down just a smidge over the last 6 months. But $687.50 to me, that is a home run buy if you happen to be the one that bought that. And then one final item that's non-Star Wars, but I wanted to show it. This was an AFA 80 plus unpunched Indiana Jones from the original Raiders of the Lost Ark line. Absolute stunner, and that one sold for $24,37.50. Massive number on that, clear blister still. But that one was a beauty. Love that card back. If I don't want to collect the Indiana Jones line, but if I was going to buy any of them, this is the one to get. And $24,37.50 was the final winning price on that one. So as you can see, this is just a snapshot of some of the items that were available in the auction that ended on Sunday, September 15th. And there were other items available, some loose graded things like that. But in general, the prices were all over the map. I think we're going to continue to see that kind of phenomenon both on eBay as well as, on Hakes and Heritage. But some good deals here, and then some that just were kind of like, huh? I don't get it at all. But that's the way it rolls sometimes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.